Hey again, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the podcast here on GEB America. And we're excited today to have a very special guest with us today. His name is Bailey Chase. He's one of the lead actors in the brand new film HomeStead, which, for those of you that are watching or listening to this here in the mid part of December, comes out on the 20th, and it's out for the Christmas holiday, and really encourage you to go see it. But Bailey, we're glad to have you here with us today. The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the speakers and not necessarily those of GEB America, Oral Roberts University, or their employees. This program is not intended to offer investment, financial, medical, legal, or any other advice. Viewers should consult a subject matter professional regarding any such matters.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So let's just get right into it. We talked a little bit about this before we started recording. Tell us, what is it that makes HomeStead, for those that have no idea what we're talking about, what does it make it such a special film, and why do you encourage people to go with their whole family and see it this holiday?
Yeah, as we had just kicked around for a couple of minutes right before we started recording, is I don't make any proclamations that this is a perfect film by any means, but like I said, this just feels like the right movie at the right time. This is a film about something that actually all of us can agree on, all Americans can agree on. And, what at its core, although there's a lot of action in this film, as you've seen, at its core, it's about faith and protecting your family, and at the end of the day, doing the right thing. And it's hard to argue with that.
Yeah. So I want to set it up a little bit without being spoiler. So for those of you that are big on spoiling, I'm not going to give it away here. But essentially, from the trailer, you would learn this, that there's a terrorist attack in Los Angeles, and it's nuclear, and it causes basically a cascading effect in the U.S. Mm-hmm. And the electrical grid goes down. And you have been contracted, you have a family, but you've been contracted by this entrepreneur, billionaire, played by Neil McDonough, to go to his homestead and to be his special forces police, protect the facility, and so on. And when you talk about the faith in the movie, there's just this really interesting interwoven theme about doing what's right. Because what do you end up with? Everybody is like, hey, let us in. It's like Noah on the ark, right? People are saying, hey, let us on the ark. And there's even a comment of that in the movie. Is this a compound or is it an ark? Yeah. So without giving too much away, is that kind of the overall a good setup of what happens?
Yeah, and Dawn Olivieri, she gives a powerhouse performance, and a lot of you might know her from Yellowstone and other Taylor Sheridan shows. She's great. I had seen her, but we had not crossed paths personally, and just wow. And so you kind of have these two alpha males, in Neil and myself, who are pitted against each other, and you got her right in the middle, and just lots of fireworks. So I think the audience is going to love it. But yeah, it is what you said, and you get that from the trailer. After the bad guys hit the West Coast, life is not good out there. People flee to the Rockies, and then we're faced with, she says, are we building an ark or are we building a fortress?
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how you kind of got involved with this project.
I was not familiar with the filmmakers before HomeStead. Thank God we did meet. We're developing another show for Angel as well for next year. I love these guys. They've become my extended family. But it really came to me through Neil McDonough. He and I have a friendship of 20 years. It started when I first moved to LA. We both played college. I played college football, but we both played college baseball, and have that competitive gene. And so we would usually be on opposing teams and see who could hit the most home runs. And 20 years later, we still have that. And it was just one of those things where I was actually on a family vacation down at the beach celebrating my in-laws' 50th anniversary, and they asked me if I could audition, and I just couldn't. It was just the perfect storm of all the family in one house, like 8 kids under the age of 10. As you can imagine, hard to break away to do an audition. And I think Neil just got in their ear. Unfortunately, the showrunners were fans of Longmire, and that helped, and they saw enough there. And I'd done some other military stuff on SEAL teams. It was a great show, and I had a nice little thing on there. With my friend the showrunner Chris Chulak and David Boreanaz, and again, and I said this before we started recording, I feel like God's hands are all over this one. All I've had to do is show up.
So tell me a little bit about the relationship with you talk about the filmmakers, talk about Ben Smallbone and those that are, I know Neil McDonough is a producer on this show.
Sure.
Or film and soon to be show. Talk a little bit about what went into creating the movie with the idea that, okay, there's going to be more. We're going to take this story, we're going to flesh the story out and maybe break some of those backstories out.
Yeah, it feels like a little bit of the same model that Longmire used, based on a series of successful books. So you've got tons of IP to pull from. I believe HomeStead was originally developed as a TV series, but then we had the Hollywood strike. SAG was not greenlighting any new series at the time, so they pivoted. They basically made the first 2 episodes a feature film, so that's what's coming out December 20th. We have the premiere in LA tonight. And then they had the next 6 episodes queued up and written and ready to go. And so we went back and shot the first couple episodes. Then the snow hit Utah. We hit the pause button and we're here. So hopefully we have a great opening. People can go from the theaters, go home to the Angel Studios app, start watching the TV series. And the plan is to go back next spring and start shooting again when the snow melts.
So far, you guys have had an incredible response. I've been seeing information that's been sent to me as well, saying that you guys theaters are selling out. The response has been really, really great. And some of that probably goes to the fact that Angel's been pushing out some really great content. But also, I think it goes to the maybe the world we're living in. People really like the dystopian, kind of like the world falls, but there's no zombies, kind of, and so that's been very popular. Do you think that the success though is also because a lot of people just really want good content that they know they don't have to necessarily, leave the theater if they're offended by something inappropriate, or people really want content that is just solid and kind of practices what it preaches?
I think great question. I think Angel Studios has filled a void, created by Hollywood. I feel like they've neglected the audience who wants to see faith-based, family-friendly stuff. And again, in no way is HomeStead heavy-handed with that, but it is at its core. And again, I want to give all due credit and respect to those who came before us at Angel. We're certainly on the coattails of The Chosen and Sound of Freedom, but HomeStead is very much its own thing. It's different from those shows. But again, we'll take all the help we can get, but I feel like the Angel Studios audience and the audience in general is hungry for that kind of stuff. So again, it's the holidays. We're up against some big studio movies, but if you're looking for some more adult fare that still has these core values, I think HomeStead's the only thing out there right now.
Yeah, and the thing that I liked about it is that it is it's action without happiness. You don't have to put a joke on it when a gun goes off. I mean, it has some heavy stuff. And again, no spoiler alerts, but there's some. It's the real deal. It's as though what it could potentially be like if such a thing happened. In our country.
It's yes, and it's dirty. It's not clean, and life gets dirty sometimes. And I think it's better for people to know and to have their eyes open. And as we know, it's not our first rodeo. I think earlier in our careers we try to make it all perfect and clean and hit all the notes. And I feel like a bit of a late bloomer, where I've never been better in hitting my stride here. And instead of looking to make the characters perfect, I'm leaning into the flaws more. And that's what I love about playing Jeff Erickson, is based on a real life guy who I got to spend a good bit of time with, and it really affected me and my performance, and it's in my soul, and I believe it comes off on screen.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it's definitely gritty. It definitely is, it got that feeling to it. And I think that's what audiences are really going to enjoy. Talk a little bit about, your character, and in the series, are we going to see more backstory? Like, you're obviously special forces. You've got some elite training. You got this crew of guys that roll with you. Like, are we going to learn more about what makes Jeff tick?
You will in the series, which you'll pick up right where the movie leaves off. You'll get into more of the backstory, right? There's only so much you can tell in 2 hours, right? And there's a lot of books out there, and a huge fan base from the books, and so we want to do them service, and we will over time in the series. And you're going to see a lot of that through flashbacks there, with my family. My wife and I, we have 2 children, and then, another that we've taken in. And that's not all explained up front, but it comes out early on in the TV series. So
yeah, that's definitely the daughter that you guys took in. Definitely, there's something to her. She's getting visions or something, and I can't give it away, but
yeah.
Oh, how is she learning this? Is she being used, by God? What is this? Yeah. And I think for me, I've never read the Black Autumn series, so I'm not familiar with your character. But one of the things that I was wondering, I'm like, well, I'm curious to see in the series is, like, Neil McDonough's character. Who is this guy? This guy has got a compound with a greenhouse and with a kitchen, a pub kitchen, and he's got this medical facility. Who is
He's prepared.
He's a prepper on steroids. Yeah. He's prepared. Like Zuckerberg and Elon put together in Colorado. We're trying to figure out, okay, what makes this guy go? And I hope that we learn more about kind of where that started.
He's fascinating, and again, I think it's kind of a great trifecta with the 3 of us when we have our 3 competing agendas, and then I have my wife Kieran Giovanni, like, who comes in and helps balance me, and my military guys, and Jeff comes from his military background and all the bad things that he's seen, abroad, and what he's seen domestically, working for the DEA. He's also worked for the team, so the guy's been around, and so maybe you become a bit paranoid after seeing what can go down and how quickly it can happen. But as an actor, you don't play paranoid. You just put that into your filter, and things affect you, and then it becomes real. And you're exactly right. Neil is also based on a real life character who owns the actual homestead where we shoot. That's our location. So that's also a real person, Jason Ross, who co-wrote the books, and he's the real deal, and he's a super prepper.
Well, and you guys have this really amazing contest going on, right?
Yeah.
Yes. You can win all this prep stuff. You can win a tiny home. You can win a whole Bitcoin. For those of you that, if you look at the links, go to the Angel site. I've got some stuff there in the show notes, both for you guys on YouTube and on Spotify and Apple, and you can find out more about that. And if you're on any social media, you're probably seeing the ads for the content.
Yeah. So, what's so funny about that? We shot, sorry to interrupt, but we shot this, photo shoot in LA. This was 6-8 weeks ago. And we all came out, had a great time. They're like, hey, would you do some video? And we're like, yeah, we're going to do this competition. They pitched us, and they're like, yeah, that sounds cool. We got some of the actors like shooting with the Polaris and at the, the actual home that they're giving away. And one of the lines that I had was, yeah, we're giving away a Bitcoin, and I just don't. I know more about it now than I did when I recorded that line. And I was like, oh, this thing's worth $100,000. I was like, one Bitcoin. Why are they through? Who cares about that? And then someone told me it was like, it was $90,000 and now it's over 100. I was like, oh yeah, I'd like to win that too.
That's so funny. Yeah, we about 6 months ago we had an economist on who we've had sort of things, and we just asked him some real basic questions about that, and we said, explain what an ETF is, explain what a Bitcoin is, and just kind of like very easy to understand. And so our audience is probably a little bit familiar from that standpoint. I don't want to I don't want to belabor this, but I definitely want to ask you a couple more questions about kind of your faith and how it kind of impacts your acting. I know Neil is very famously talked about, he has turned down, I guess, roles or is not, there's certain things he is not interested in when it comes to it kind of coming in a weird juxtaposition with his faith. How does that work in your world? Like when you're auditioning for something, do you kind of keep that always in mind? Like, are you thinking about, man, I don't know if this is a role I even want to try out for because I don't know.
Yeah, that definitely happens, and let me give credit where credit's due. And I've always looked up to Neil. Not only is he an incredible actor, but he is a great human being. And he's just a couple years older, and again, come from similar backgrounds. But he got married before I did. He started having children. Became a father before I did. So I've always looked into him in that regard. Started acting a little bit before I did, and even though we didn't see each other that often, it was nice to have that touchstone. And I've had a couple people like that, out here in LA. And then things really changed for me once I got married and became a father, and things, went on tilt out here with the pandemic. And 3.5 25 years ago, I moved out here with $1 and a dream. 3.5 years ago, I moved my family to North Carolina, again with $1 and a dream, because things weren't going well out here. And I put it all in God's hands, and everything is working out for me. So it was strange because I'm an athlete by nature. Once you kind of have that work ethic and discipline, you don't need to be motivated. But ultimately in life and to have faith, you need to surrender. And it took, that's just my journey, but it took all that to happen for me to get here. And I'm so thankful that it did. And it definitely helps raising my family in the mountains of North Carolina. LA was more challenging. So even more respect for Neil for doing it out here in Malibu Canyon.
Yeah, definitely. So you, when it comes to roles, I'm kind of curious because I was familiar with you from a number of things, including Longmire. Are kind of these military, sports, Western, martial, deputy? Is that kind of becoming a little bit of a niche for you? You feel kind of comfortable?
Well, the funny thing is, my mom, she's laughing from above because I got into a bit of trouble when I was a kid. So I was on the other side. I got shipped off to boarding school when I was 15. I definitely had a rebel streak. But again, I've come, a long way since then. And, I really look up to those guys. It's a life of service, and I'm now living that. And so whenever I get to play, first responders, law enforcement, our military, it's a real honor to me. And those are my favorite roles. The cowboy thing is cool because I grew up riding horses, so that, nothing wrong with that. So that, if I had to choose, it would be, military, first responder, good old cowboy.
So anything you can kind of, without giving anything away, anything you could tell us about your role in the series over the next several months as things.
Thank you for asking, because I would like to file a little bit of a disclaimer. We're about 2 weeks into shooting the series, and I was like, guys, people aren't going to like me for a while. Like the way that you've written Jeff, and it's just where the story goes. Things get worse before they get better, and I get painted into a corner, and it's fight or flight, and Jeff's instinct is to fight. Again, it's about what I said about, I'm not playing any emotion. It's just, what's real to this character, and letting that get into your soul and seeing what comes out.
What I kind of saw from your character was, you're not real concerned about people's feelings. You've got to protect your family.
Yeah.
When push comes to shove, I'm so sorry you feel that way, but nobody is more important than my wife and kids. So, step aside.
And that's military 101, right? It's all about the mission, very goal oriented, and we'll talk about your feelings later. And the other thing is Jeff doesn't care about being liked, and Bailey probably still has a little bit of that, which I was like, why I said something to him after about 2 weeks, and there was a scene in the movie with the puppy, and they cut it out. It just well, there's a piece of it there, but there was a bigger scene that kind of explained stuff, and they're like, but it was like one of the only times you get to see the softer side of Jeff, but you'll see it in the series.
Well, I encourage our listeners and our viewers to go see the movie, support good content that is faith-based, that is family, a little more family friendly than most of what we get out of so many different studios. And if you've got teenagers, there's a great little kind of a teen love interest thing that's happening. If you've got, the mothers out there can definitely see themselves in what both moms are dealing with as they kind of prepare to take care of their family, but also the extended family. And for those of you that like action, there's plenty of that, thanks to Bailey and Neil and his and Bailey's Jeff Erickson's really cool squad of guys. You even got a lone wolf in there, from what I remember.
Yeah, I do. he doesn't like to take orders, does he?
No, but he's got your back.
He does. He's a good dude.
Well, anything else you'd like to share, or maybe to tell people how they can stay in kind of contact with what your career's doing and as you move forward?
Yeah, no, thank you. Please come out and support the film. Let me know what you think. Again, I take great pride and respect and responsibility in what I do and telling the story. And you can follow us. I'm more of an Instagram guy, so I'm at Bailey Chase. There's also the HomeStead movie, Angel Studios, obviously, and we've got some other things coming out with them next year that I can't wait for y'all to see. Very excited. So
very cool. For our listeners and viewers, hit up the GEB America Instagram or Facebook. We'll have info there. Also, you can find on my Instagram at the Dave Groves. I'll be sure to put info on how you can contact and stay in the know of what Angel's doing, what Bailey's doing, and then go out and see the movie. It comes out starting the 20th of December. And it's a great opportunity. There's lots of movies coming out at Christmas time, but I encourage you take some time to go see this film and then get on Angel's website and the app, download it so you can stay up with the series that is going to be chasing this movie really quickly. That's super cool. I guess I didn't realize that. That's very cool. Yeah.
It's smart. It's smart on their idea, and I've just been really impressed with Angel Studios the whole way. So.
By the time this actually drops, which will be in just a few days, you will have had the premiere in LA. Tell us about what you're looking forward to with that. Having a premiere of something like this movie.
Yeah, it's great. I'm excited to be back here. My wife was able to come with me, and I'll see everybody tonight, and then we go on to Salt Lake from here, and then my wife will go home to the kids. And then we'll get to see all of the local filmmakers there, local cast and crew. So it'll be special to celebrate with them. But yeah, I'm not above enjoying a red carpet in LA hosted by Angel Studios.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you to the handlers that have helped, Callie and Lori, that are behind the scenes, that they don't get to be on camera with us, but they were a huge help in making sure. Because for those of you that don't know, we don't normally do our videos this way. We had some technical difficulties, but it's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good premiere.
That's
Great release on the 20th. Well, hey, it's been great talking to you. And hey, we'll stay in touch. Love to connect back with you in a few weeks or months and find out how it's going and learn about some of the other stuff you got happening next year.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Bailey. And our viewers and listeners, be sure to share and like and subscribe on YouTube to the podcast. And we'll see you next time. Have a great rest of your week.